TGIF family and friends, I am back yet again. The Lord has placed upon my heart to do a continuation or expound a little bit on what I spoke about yesterday. And so yesterday I talked about two things, an end and releasing. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it tells us that the end of a thing is better than the beginning of a thing thereof. And then I talked about over in the book of Luke that when you are not received, that you can shake the dust off of your feet. So what God began to minister in my spirit, that sometimes we have done these things physically, like we have let go of relationships physically, we're no longer together, or we have let people go physically, and you have let your past go physically, but the mental aspect of it you still are holding on to. So what he began to tell me, when things come to an end, it has come to a conclusion, it has come to a termination, it has brought closure. But sometimes we live in the mental aspect of it and we have not released. And sometimes we have to release, not sometimes, but we need to, in order to move forward, we need to mentally release these relationships. We need to mentally release our children, especially our grown children. And then you have to release your past. So in order to master the art of letting go, you have to know that it has came to an end. And then you have to mentally let it go. And so this morning we call the art of letting go. And when you learn to the art of letting go, in that there is the healing that needs to take place. There is deliverance that will take place. And then most of all, freedom takes place. And then learning to be free, then you move into the joy of receiving. Because remember, I talked about releasing and receiving. So when you move into the joy of receiving, then in that there is new beginnings. In that there's new creations. And then in that is new adventures. Why? Because you have allowed yourself to grow, you have allowed yourself to glow, and you have allowed yourself to be led by the Spirit of God. That when you allow yourself to release, when you allow things to come to an end, when you allow yourself to move in freedom. And I'm going to tell you, it's nothing like moving in freedom, because when you move in the freedom of your mind and the freedom of who you are, your authentic self, you start to create. There's a new person that starts to evolve, and you're no longer that same person. You're no longer holding on to grudges. You're no longer holding on to guilt. You're no longer holding on to shame. You're no longer holding on to people. And I would even say that even we have to master the art of letting go of our loved ones that have moved on. Because in that, if you don't allow yourself the proper time to mourn, if you don't allow yourself the proper time to heal, and if you don't allow yourself the proper time to bring that to a closure, that can start affecting you in such a way that it will start not just affecting your mind, but it'll start affecting your physical being within itself. So we also have to master the art of letting go, even when our loved ones have moved on to the Lord or with the Lord. And so I'm just here again wants to encourage you, learn about or go into the scriptures and pull out what it means to learning to let go and learning to receive from God. I wish I had more time to talk about this and tell you about all of my adventures with it, because that was an area of God. Once again, like I tell you, he worked on me with that, about letting go and receiving. And I will tell you, now that I've learned the art of letting go, baby, I love reaping the joy of receiving, because I know that when you release people, especially of their offenses towards you, God just does this thing within you when you learn to do that, when you learn to let folks off the hook and release them for the things that they have done or said, or maybe sometimes continue to do to you. And when you learn to look at it through the eyes of God, you know that if you allow yourself to go through the process, it's for your better good. There's the scripture that even talks about that, for we know that when you love the Lord, that everything is that you do or go through is for your good. Now, I'm not quoting that script for verbatim, but that is what the gist of that scripture talks about. It's over in Romans. So again, learn the art of letting go, learn the joy of receiving. Again, if you want to expound on this, maybe I'll teach about it and put it on my YouTube channel. Everyone have a blessed day. I gotta go.